Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
This is the crazy thing, right? I mean, you think you know what your show's going to be about. You're planning last night, this morning. You have some semblance of an idea of what's going on. I was going to start today with the Rays and how good that they were playing, and we're going to talk some Rays a little bit later on, but I was brushing up on my Junior Caminero history, Drew Rasmussen, all these different guys, and then the bombshell drops early this morning around 9:30 that Michael Kelly looks like he is leaving South Florida to head to Navy to be their AD. Welcome to the Recher podcast. My goodness, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Man, the love and the support has been outstanding, especially the last couple of weeks. The subscribers are going up. We've got plenty to get into today. We'll talk about the Michael Kelly stuff. First off, congratulations to Nikita Kucherov for winning the Ted Lindsay Award, voted on by the players for being the best player in the league. Again, I don't understand why it's so different between the players and the guys that actually vote on the MVP. And he's the Ted Lindsay Award winner again. It's wild to me. It's wild that he doesn't get more love and recognition, but it is what it is. And I know some people out there think that I don't like Kucherov because of what I said in my postmortem. Couldn't be farther from the truth. I'm just spitting the truth, and I say things that people don't have the balls to say. And there was an issue, and it's not that big of a deal, not big of an issue, that big of an issue, because obviously he's still doing his thing. His teammates love him. It was just an incident that I heard at the time, and I passed it along. And, at that time, I'm spitting facts. People don't want to hear it. Too damn bad. It doesn't take away that I think he's a fantastic player. It doesn't take away all the great things that I've said about him in the past, about going on national TV and national radio and talking about Nikita Kucherov and why he gets continuously shafted by the national media. So let's keep it 100 right there, because that is what we do. Shout out to DT, Masters of None. My fellows over there, make sure you check them out Tuesday night. Go like and subscribe to them as well. Fire, fire, fire. Same old Benny, one day closer to retirement. The truth shall set you free. You got that right, my friends. Also on the program, Bailey Adams is going to join us at 12:30 today. Bailey writes for Pewter Report. We know that. Yesterday was Cut and Color for a Cure to raise money for pediatric cancer over there at One Buccaneer Place at the Avon Health Training Center. Go check that out. What an incredible story. And Bailey is one of the guys that got his head shaved and got it dyed. And it's pretty cool. But Pewter Report also had a great chat with head coach Todd Bowles the other day at 4 o'clock. If you missed that, go check him out on YouTube. So we're going to discuss how that chat went down and anything else that Bailey saw yesterday, because we only have 2 days as members of the media to check out voluntary OTAs. One was last Tuesday. Another one was yesterday. So Bailey's going to join us at 12:30 to talk about that. At 1 o'clock, Preston Urso is going to join us on the program. I know you may know the last name, Urso. Yes, it's Joe Urso, head coach of our University of Tampa baseball team, his son, Preston. Why are we having Preston on the show today? Well, Preston's best friend is Jac Caglianone. Yes, that Jac Caglianone, Tampa's own plant high product, Florida Gator, who made his MLB debut for the Kansas City Royals last night in St. Louis against the Cardinals. He took an offer, but he was smoking the baseball, and there was a lot of people happy to see Jack do his thing. So Preston took a plane. He took a trip from North Carolina, left the World Series, the D2 World Series, went out to St. Louis to catch Jack's MLB debut last night, and then hopped on a plane this morning back to North Carolina to check out UT as they take on Northwest Nazarene tonight in their matchup in Cary, North Carolina. So Preston just got off the plane a little while ago. He's going to join us at 1 o'clock to talk about that whole craziness. UT wins last night against UT Tyler, a big 7-run outburst in the 7th inning. They win 8-1. They play Northwest Nazarene tonight at 6 o'clock. If they win tonight, they got to play and beat them again tomorrow to advance to the finals of the World Series, where it's the best 2 out of 3. So hopefully they'll take care of business. It starts tonight at 6 o'clock. Good luck to our Spartans. We'll also talk Tom Thibodeau getting fired by the New York Knicks and the red hot Rays. They continue to play well. But the big news of the day, and I'm keeping an eye on everything, just see if there's any other breaking news. And we just saw it from, all right, here we go. Just making sure everything. All right, good. So Joey Knight from the Tampa Bay Times just put this out, and it said a formal announcement on Michael Kelly becoming the next athletic director at Navy is expected this afternoon. It is happening. And this is where it all started. We saw it this morning. Pete Thamel put out this tweet, and that is when the ball started rolling. And that is when everybody started texting me, are you hearing this? Are you seeing this? Yes, I am. And this was the first tweet that got everybody rolling. Pete Thamel, ESPN, Navy is targeting USF AD Michael Kelly to become its next athletic director. Kelly, a veteran admin with experience at both the ACC and then with the college football playoff. And then that was, all right, they're targeting him. Well, here comes Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports saying Navy is hiring Michael Kelly as its next AD. ESPN first reported he was being targeted. And then this one right here, this is Ross Dellinger. And then the last one from Pete Thamel here. Per ESPN sources, Kelly's hire is expected to be formalized at some point today. So those are the big news. That's what we're hearing throughout the entire day. And of course, I want to hear from you throughout this entire process. We are very interactive here on the Jay Recher podcast. Here is the link to StreamYard right there. Boom. You can just click on the link in the chat and you can join in on the conversation as Michael Kelly leaving USF, according to sources, for Navy. I've reached out to a couple of people within USF yet to get back to me. A couple other people that I have talked to said there is a lot of truth to this. There's a lot of validity to this, and it is happening. So, man, it's crazy. You think about why he would do this. You just think about this entire thing, his background, right? He's a Washington, D.C. native, and he's going to replace a guy in Chet Gladchuk who retired in April after 24 years at Navy. They've had 2 ADs in the last 40 years. And you ask, why Navy? Well, it's near and dear to Michael Kelly's heart. His dad, Dennis, attended the Navy. He was a naval officer, served in Vietnam. He grew up in the D.C. area, right? So you know this is a place that he holds near and dear to his heart. And I know me, myself, I always take pride in, like, the national anthem because both of my grandfathers served. Like, stuff like that lives with you. It's part of who you are. It's where your foundation and your base for your morals and your values come from. So it's not something that ever leaves. And Michael Kelly's done a lot for USF in his time here, right? Double the department's budget, more than $100 million in philanthropic gifts. You think about what he's done for the indoor practice facility, getting the ball rolling when it comes to the new on-campus stadium, which we're very, very excited about. And I think about this entire situation with Michael Kelly, and I think back to a couple weeks ago. We were there in Clearwater, and he's a very mild-mannered guy, Michael Kelly, and he loves this area. And I got a chance to speak with him after USF lost to ECU, and he's just always been a guy that's thanked me for covering the Bulls. He's such a humble guy. He said, I had a great voice. You did a great job with Derek Sharp. And there was a couple of times throughout that game where I kind of looked over because he sat in the booth with us for a couple innings, and he looked over and he said, in between innings, is it okay? Is it okay if I sit here? Yeah, girl, if you're the freaking VP of athletics, the AD, you can do whatever the hell you want. But there were a couple of times during the game where he was just kind of like looking out. And at the time, there was nothing, right? That's what I thought. He's a quieter guy. He's trying to be respectful because he's in the radio booth. But there was a part of me that looked over at MK and I was wondering, like, what's he thinking about? What's on his mind? Because even though this decision is coming down today, that this had to be in the works for a little while. And he just looked like a guy that was very pensive. He looked like a guy that was thinking about something that even though he was focused on the game, his mind was elsewhere. Maybe it was this. This is a guy, and you can't fault him for all that he's done. I already gave you what he did, during his tenure as far as money and bringing in all these, think about all the coaches that he brought in. I know early on it wasn't great, but look at just the last couple of hires that he's had, bringing in Mitch Hannes, turning around the baseball program, bringing in Alex Golish, bringing in Amir Abdur-Rahim. Everybody loves the hire of Brian Hodgson. Like, he's doing such a great job, or he's done such a great job here at South Florida. And he really poured everything he had into this community. I've got pictures of him holding the Stanley Cup at Amalie Arena, and, a picture with him and Brian Segrist and myself after the baseball team won the AAC tournament in Clearwater back in 2021. Again, I know how much this place means to him and his family. It's not lip service. But this is different. This is completely different. This is an ability to go home. And this isn't some Johnny-come-lately program. You're like, oh, Navy, and people are comparing the athletic programs. It's not about that. It's not about comparing the athletic programs. It's about, this is a job that you have pretty much for the rest of your career. They're not going to fire you because of a couple bad seasons. And again, the hiring of Michael Kelly by Navy has a lot more to do with Michael Kelly, the human being, than it does just what he does with athletic programs. I mean, you don't work with the college football playoff, and then you don't get hired by USF and get as much love and gratitude. I mean, Michael Kelly is a guy that goes above and beyond. He joined us on WDA. He joined me here on the podcast a couple of times. This is a guy that's always going out of his way. He's traveling all over the country to be there for the athletic programs. And I've asked coach after coach, from Erickson to Fernandez to Hannes to everybody in between, Coach Hodgson, like, what is it like to be a part of a program? What is it like to be part of a university that has a guy like that at the helm, the guy like that at the top? And you hear about communication, you hear about family. Like, there's no way you can look at Michael Kelly and say that he didn't leave USF better than when he found it. And this is on the record, off the record. Trust me, what happens here in the Tampa Bay area, if things happen off the record, they find their way. What happens in the darkness comes to light. I didn't hear any of that stuff when it came to MK. This is a guy that really dove into the Tampa Bay area, and you saw him at different games, and you saw him at different events, and he was so involved with the Tampa Bay area. And listen, he was one of the first guys. I remember having this conversation with him about the NIL. Remember when people were like, oh, I don't know if the NIL is going to become a thing. Look at it now. He was one of the first guys to be like, this is where it's going. This is where college athletics is going. USF needs to be on the forefront. We need to be out in front of this. And he was. And look how smart of a decision that was. Michael Kelly leaving USF for Navy, again, is not one of those where it's a step up or a step down. He's going home. You can't fault the guy for going home. Do I think it'd be different? And people are, and I know some people are upset, and you have your every right to. And if you want to contribute to the conversation, here's the link. Click on it in the chat, phone, computer, join in on the conversation. And I know some people are upset about MK, and they're saying, when is USF going to be the destination and not the stepping stone? And that's a fair point to bring up. But I don't necessarily know if it's that in for that right here. Like, I don't know if that is the case for this situation with Michael Kelly. It'd be one thing if you leave USF to go to Florida, or if you go to USF and you go to Alabama, or USF to go to any one of these other big schools, to Notre Dame, to Ohio State, or, anywhere. Then you could say, oh, it's a stepping stone. I don't think Michael Kelly, I think regardless of where Michael Kelly was at, he could have been at another school. If you have the opportunity to go home and to go be the AD at Navy, I honestly think like that's the job that he was probably meant to have and meant to do. 2 guys in 40 years. To bring a guy like Michael Kelly in there, I think it's a smart move for Navy. And I've been very fortunate to be able to see some of the inner workings to both Army and Navy in their athletic programs when we went to the Army-Navy game for the last couple of years. I mean, it's just something very special. And we're so thankful to our friends over at the USAA and Christian Bove and everybody over there. And just to be able to see everybody and how it all works. great people, the best of the best that our country has to give. And as much as we want to talk about winning athletically, it's more about the people. It's about putting the right people in charge. You're not worrying about NIL. It's extremely humbling to go to these games and realize that the fight that these guys show on the field pales in comparison to the fight that they show when they're trying to give everything they have for this country. And I know there's a lot of things that divide us in this country nowadays, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, there's just so many different things. I hate to talk about it. But when you go to the Army Navy game, you see the best of the best. When you're on the field after the game and you see everybody embrace, not just the Army guys, not just to the Navy guys, everybody. That's the best of the best that our country has to offer. And it's extremely humbling. So if you're a Navy, you're looking at a guy at Michael Kelly who's 54 years old that is going to be there for what, the next 15, 20, 25, 30, 20, a while, right? At least the next 15, 20 years. And a guy that's universally admired and loved by not just people here in the Tampa Bay area, people around South Florida, but around the country from his dealing with the college football playoff. A home run hire for Navy. It sucks for us. But again, for those people that think like this is a stepping stone for other jobs, for other people, I think you make that discussion. I think you can make that argument. But I don't see that for MK. This is the job that he was meant to do. This was the job that he was meant to go and finish his career at. I can't hate a man for going home. I can't. That area of the country means so much to him. Your dad was in the Navy. He went to Vietnam. You couldn't script this any better for the Kelly family. It sucks for us. I know. And I hate it personally because MK's always been so good to me. But it's the reality of the situation. Bart says Michael Kelly left USF in a much, much better situation. Best of luck to him and the family. Yeah, no doubt about it. He's always been so great to me. Always. And so great to everybody here in the Tampa Bay area. And, being able to speak to him after certain situations, like after Amir passed away and we were at the celebration of life and he did his, he did his stuff with the media and then me and him kind of went off to the side and started speaking. You can just tell, man, when you talk to people, like they're just the right people. That's the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. And I want to kind of let you guys in on a little something here that I don't think I've ever said publicly, but as far as the USF baseball job goes, you guys know how important baseball is here to the Tampa Bay area. And especially to me, after Billy Mole got let go, and again, love Billy, still talk to me, just celebrated a birthday. I tried to get in contact with Michael Kelly because I really wanted him to understand that we really needed somebody to recruit baseball players in the Tampa Bay area. We needed people to really harvest some of this homegrown talent we have. We don't want to see these guys going to Florida and Florida State and out of the states. We need to keep these guys here in the Tampa Bay area. And I just wanted to be able to disseminate that message to him before he made a decision, because I didn't know who it was going to be at the time. Was it going to be a Joe Urso? Was it going to be a Joe Madden? Was it going to be a Mitch Hannes? We didn't know this at the time. And I reached out to communicate with Michael Kelly. And I didn't know if I was out of turn, if I was speaking out of turn. I mean, who the hell am I, right? At the time, I'm just a radio host, but it meant that much to me. And it's more about the baseball players in this area than it was about USF. I don't mean that to sound crass or anything like that. And it's about all these kids that I've watched grow up play and go somewhere else. They should be staying here. I mean, you look at the guy, Jac Caglianone, you look at Pete Alonso, you look at Kyle Tucker, you look at Lance McCullers. Look at all these players that are crushing it in the big leagues. Lance McCullers outdued Paul Skeens last night. How about that? Those guys should be staying here in the Tampa Bay area, regardless of where your collegiate affiliate is. It pains me. It's one thing if you stay in state, right? You want to go to Florida State. If you want to go to all these different colleges here in the state of Florida. I mean, It's your prerogative. When these guys go somewhere else and then they don't play, it's like there's a D1 school right here in the Tampa area. We have to keep these guys here. We have to keep them home. So I didn't know if MK was going to take my call. I thought I was going to be, politely declined. And then come to find out, I think MK was in Europe. I might be wrong, but I think he was in Europe. He might have been in London. They said, yeah, Michael will take your call. He's going to call you at this time, or he texted me or something. And we set up a call and we spoke for like 20 minutes. And I told him, I said, I know this may not mean anything to you, but baseball in this area means everything to me. And I just want you to know, like, if you hire somebody, can you please make sure that that guy looks here in the 813 and the 727 and the 352, like everybody around here, let's keep these guys home in Tampa. That is how you're going to grow this program. That's how you're going to get people to go to these games. Bay Made, Bay State, like there is a lot of good baseball players here. And the fact that he took the time out of his day to be able to listen to me and understand what I had to say, like that meant the world. You didn't have to do that. Again, he could have just politely declined and like, hey, we got this. We're taking care. But the fact that he gave a shit that what my opinion was, like that goes a long way, at least to me. Now we turn the page on like, who's next? And I know some people out there, there's going to be on it can't be. I saw somebody out there say it can't be anybody with ties to USF. Why not? We don't know that. You want to hire from within? Okay. You want to bring somebody into USF Athletics that isn't a part of USF Athletics, but is a person that's all green and gold? I got no issue with that as well. USF needs a president after Rhea Law. She's on her way out, and now an AD. So two huge decisions when it comes to South Florida, but we know that the future is bright. We know that there's a lot of good things. We're trending in the right direction, and especially when it comes to our athletics. One thing that we heard from, I think it was Will Weatherford, who could be an option, right? There's a lot of programs around the country that they look at athletics and they take this big exhale. This is a priority when it comes to South Florida. That's got to make you feel good as a USF fan, that they're prioritizing getting these coaches and the NIL, and they're not just kind of throwing it out there like, oh, we don't really care. Let the chips fall where they may. No, that's not it. It's important to them. That's got to be intriguing to the next president and, of course, to the next AD. So who are some of these names, right? Who's next? Could Rob Higgins be a guy? I know that's a name that's brought up. This is a guy that's a USF dude through and through, the executive director of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. If Rob Higgins was that guy, I don't know if anybody out there would be upset, because there is not one person here in the Tampa Bay area that puts Tampa Bay on the map and shines a spotlight on our area better than Rob Higgins and his team, of course. Rob came up to me, and I'm sure I said this on the show. He came up to me at the sneaker soiree at the Hard Rock a couple months ago, and he comes up and he gives me a hug, and he goes, I love you because of how much you love Team Tampa Bay. That's all you need to know when it comes to Rob. Chris Pierce, the COO at USF. Could that be an option? Yes. How about Senior Associate AD Lee Butler? Now, Lee is a guy that I've really grown fond of over the last couple of years. And Lee is a guy that he's been around a lot when it comes to, I saw the basketball program, seen him at the baseball games, football. Obviously, he's everywhere. And Lee is a guy that knows the Sunshine State up and down, forward and backwards. Another guy built from that same cloth, cut from that same cloth, of a people person, shakes your hand, looks you in the eye, right? There's a lot of different things that you love about Lee Butler. If he is the decision going forward, I wouldn't hate that at all. Just seeing. So formal announcement out of Annapolis expected at some point this afternoon. Michael Kelly didn't immediately respond to a text message. That's from Joey Knight from the Tampa Bay Times. So one thing that we know is Michael Kelly putting all these different kind of things into transition now. I don't think in any way is he going to bolt and leave this situation in a lurch. I think he's going to try to help the transition of power in any way possible. and I know there's and Craig's bringing this up. What about Derek Brooks? Well known in area, no one can say anything bad about him. I don't think that Derek Brooks wants something of this magnitude. Derek likes his schedule. He is going to be a very popular name, but let's not forget, Derek loves being at Dania's games, right? He's got a lot of other different things that he's got going on. He still works with the NFL. He likes to be able to travel. He likes to be able to go to Florida State, likes to be able to go to the Bucks games. He likes to be able to just do his thing, play some golf. I think this is just a lot on Derek's plate. I just don't think that would be a good fit just for him, right? He's got a lot going on. I mean, part of the reason why it's a great thing that Dania is playing here is because he can go to all the games. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. And the same answer when people ask me about Derek Brooks should be the next GM of the Bucks. Like that's not necessarily what he wants. I think he likes the freedom. Derek Brooks reminds me of a lot of a guy likes to do a little bit of everything. He likes to be able to be a dad. He likes to be able to work the NFL. He likes to go up to Tallahassee. Likes to help out Jeffrey Vinnick. Likes to help out. He likes to have his hand in a lot of different things. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just don't think he's a good fit for what USF needs as their next athletic director. These are two guys that you have to keep an eye on that not a lot of people are talking about. So there's a lot of names, and Derek Brooks is going to be a popular one, of course. Rob Higgins, I know. But these are two names that I want to bring up that not many people are talking about. This one guy, so Joey Knight actually tweeted about 20 minutes ago, but when I was writing up my notes, he was the first guy, and that's Ken Erickson. The USF softball coach, he's been here forever. What more does he have to accomplish? Going back to the NCAAs this year, he was the Olympic softball coach for years. He's been the softball coach at USF for damn near 30 years. He knows this program inside and out. So when you look at options for the next athletic director, and some people will say, oh, I don't want anybody inside of USF. I mean, you could do a lot worse than Ken Erickson. And this is a guy that knows the green and gold. This is a guy that knows what a national program is all about. He is universally respected, just like we said about Michael Kelly. So why wouldn't he be a good option? So keep an eye on Ken Erickson because, listen, maybe now's a good transition for him. He's a guy. If we need a guy, green and gold, we need a guy that knows this area. We need a guy that knows this program. That could be an option too. Another guy is Lalo Prado. Lalo, Deputy Director of Athletics and Development. I know he's focused on baseball, baseball coach at UT, USF. And I know, and I don't know if many people know this, but I know he was in line for an interview for the University of Tampa job after Larry Murphy's retired after a long stint with the Spartans. So that could be another option. Maybe Michael Kelly goes to Navy and a guy that works very closely with him, especially on the baseball side, Lalo Prado, maybe he's the guy that slides over to that bigger chair, and maybe he's the next athletic director with USF. And I'm sure there's other names that are out there that you got to keep a keen eye on. But obviously the big breaking news today, Michael Kelly leaving USF for Navy. And again, I'll say this again. For anybody out there that is mad at MK or they think that, all right, this is just a stepping stone job, it's not. This is not one of those situations. If you grew up in a place, if you had a school that meant something to you, like a lot, not just to you, but to your family, and an opportunity like this opens up, you almost be foolish not to take it. That part of the country, I know how much it means to him. Him and I have talked about it. So now you get a chance to go there and you have job security. Again, they're not going to fire. You have a couple of bad seasons for the football and you make a hire that doesn't really work out. Like, people aren't going to be banging down your door trying to get rid of you. It's different. The expectations are different at the Naval Academy. And I said it once and I'll say it again. This is a hire more about Michael Kelly, the man, than what he can do for the athletic program over there at Navy. Nobody's going to bat an eye when he comes in there, and I'm sure that he's going to be able to put them in a position to be successful, and he's going to use all the relationships that he's been able to foster over the years and just make that program even better. We know athletics aren't the end-all be-all for the Army and the Navy and all of our, military academies. It's just not. So what do you do? Who do you bring in? You bring in a guy like Michael Kelly. It's a home run hire for them. It sucks for us. But again, we wish Michael Kelly the best. And the more information that we get, we'll pass it on to you. All right. Great day over there at One Buck Place at the Advent Health Training Center. And look at the freshly coiffed Bailey Adams joining us. All right. So I put the picture on social. So how do you feel now that you got your lovely locks taken off yesterday as part of the cut and color event over there with the Bucks?
It feels really weird. I haven't had, I don't know if I've ever had hair this short. And the last time it was anywhere near this short was probably 2012, 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a while, but it was awesome to be a part of the event. For the Bucks for allowing me to participate. And it was awesome. Awesome day.
It looks good, buddy. It looks good. Listen, if it didn't look good, I would say it. What has been some of the responses? What have been some of the feedback that you've gotten from friends and family?
I've heard that a lot of people say they like it. It looks good. Mm-hmm. I think, in my own estimation, I think the beard helps. That's how I feel with, I think, the short hair. Eventually, I've been thinning for a while. I'll be bald eventually, I think, and I've got to keep the beard. I know that, but my co-host on the Pegasus podcast, our UCF podcast, told me he thinks I look wiser, which I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't feel any wiser, but pretty good feedback.
That's awesome, man. And I know big UCF guy, but I wanted to get your opinion on the USF news with Michael Kelly. I mean, we're always going to be intertwined on I-4. We're always keeping an eye on UCF keeping an eye on USF. But just your initial thoughts on hearing MK going to Navy.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I mean, I guess not the fact that, I think he's a good idea. I think he's done a lot for USF. And I think just anytime that news happened very quickly, in my view, I wasn't really in tune with anything that was going on. I just saw this morning that he was being targeted by Navy. And then an hour later, they were saying it was happening. So, I mean, it's a tough spot and interesting spot for USF to be in with the president situation and now needing an AD, and I guess with the stadium project, I know he was big on that, obviously. So it'll be interesting to follow from afar, at least. I say afar. I live in Tampa, so
yeah. No, I get what you're saying though, but yeah, and it's one of those things that just affects our area, and then depending on who they bring in, right? There's like a ripple effect of, let's say they do bring in Rob Higgins, maybe he's the guy, and then how does that affect the Tampa Bay Sports Commission? Sometimes there's a domino effect when it comes to this whole thing. I want to ask you about the interview with Todd Bowles. You guys did a great job on that. You and Scott Reynolds, you had him for a while. To be able to interview the head coach of a National Football League team for that long, I mean, it just shows that the trust that the Bucks have with you guys over there at Pewter Report. So congratulations on that. Really well done. What were some of your big takeaways from sitting down with Todd for that long?
Yeah, thank you, first of all. But it was awesome. I think there was so much from it, and I think we're still kind of, the whole staff's kind of working through all the different things we want to put out there content-wise. But I think the overall takeaway and kind of some of the feedback we've gotten, and I think it was something we maybe expected, was Bucks fans getting a chance to see Todd Bowles in a different setting, a little bit looser, a little bit more joking around, a little bit more laughing than, the guy. I know he gets all the criticism for being very stoic on the sideline and always having his arms crossed, and kind of the same criticisms that Tony Dungy would get back in the day. But I think that in an overall sense was interesting to kind of see him in a different light for us and for Bucks fans. But obviously we asked him about it too, and he said he gets all of his yelling and all that out Monday through Saturday. He said Sundays he'll be fine, and it was a great time talking with him. And I think the other big thing, it was actually very late in the interview, and it was something one of our commenters, our super chatters, asked him about playing so much off coverage and saying, "Why?" I just curiously, I want to know, why do you like playing off coverage so much? And Todd kind of just said, I don't. Like, it's not something that he likes to do. I think it's, the kind of the delineation there was that it's something that he's felt like they've had to do from a personnel standpoint, and that he would love to, and I think expects to play less off coverage this year and more man-to-man. We saw some of that, in some of the drills they were doing in OTAs yesterday, actually.
I love that, because I think that's a huge part of it too. And I've been kind of saying that, and it's weird because I was one of the guys that was like very staunch at be careful with Todd Bowles, because half of my family are Jets fans. And I watched that just go downhill. And I was like, be careful. Because everybody was. And now I've gone to being one of the loudest Todd Bowles supporters here. And Matt and Scott themselves are like, Jay, you were saying, like, don't, be so quick to go to Liam Cohen. And, you don't know what you're going to get for a guy like Liam Cohen. And that was another point of discussion. People are like, why are they playing off? So, well, you can't rush with 4 guys, and they're sitting back there all day. Of course you got to play off because you're going to beat every single time. Do you think then, I guess, kind of going down the next path there, if they can get to the passer better with Hassan Reddick and with, kind of just 4 guys rushing, do you think we're going to see more press coverage and just more of Todd being able to be more creative? Because we know, especially those blitz packages, man, that's when really Todd is at his best.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's a reason why the big emphasis has been getting home with 4 and getting after the quarterback with those 4 guys. Obviously, last year they did a good job up the middle with Vita and with Kalijah. Like that's a duo that was fantastic. And even though the sack numbers weren't there for Yaya Diaby, I think he made a lot of strides in a lot of areas. Now you've got that other guy on the other side, Hassan Reddick, where I think it should be, they expect it. And I think even with some of the depth and some of the guys they've added, Chris Braswell coming on a little bit and David Walker, the draft pick this year, I think they feel like they'll be able to be more consistent getting pressure with those 4 guys. And we've seen in the past when they have played that man coverage, press man, Jamel Dean's great at it. And Zion McCollum can do it too. He's got the physicality, he's got the length, and he can handle that job. So I think if they put themselves in a position with the pass rush, yeah, they'd love to play more up to the line with their corners.
Yeah, and I look at when a guy like Jamel Dean and some of the teams that they played when you're going up against like Philly, right? When they're playing them press with them, like why are they so successful against Philly when so many other teams? That's when I feel like they play their best. And they're like, screw it, we're gonna play press, we're gonna get up on these guys, and if they can do that against everybody, right? I think they'll be in good shape. I got a lot of faith that with the new improved pass rush, things are going to be much different with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What about yesterday at OTAs? To be able to be out there, obviously only 2 days there for voluntary OTAs, but what stood out to you just watching what you saw on the field yesterday?
Yeah, I think probably over the last 2 weeks or the 2 OTAs that we've been able to be there for, Tez Johnson. I know he's the 7th round receiver, and we were talking a lot more about Emeka Egbuka being the 1st rounder, but it's struck me how good Tez Johnson is at just getting open. He's able to win off the line of scrimmage. Obviously, he's a quick guy, shifty. He had the big play yesterday. Kyle Trask hit him for about a 50-plus yard gain, touchdown, whatever you want to call it, in the 11-on-11s. But, I think him and even, Egbuka has made some interesting plays in terms of, like, I know there's been this want to compare him to Chris Godwin, and I'm trying to get away from it, but it's hard to when you actually watch him play, because a lot of, obviously with Godwin not out there right now, a lot of the routes that Ibuka's running, a lot of the ways he's winning is similar to what you'll see from Chris Godwin. So from the one standpoint, the rookie receivers are making some good waves early on. And then something that Todd Bowles talked about yesterday a lot, and it was because of what's happened on the field, is the inside linebacker position, which I think has been the big question all offseason. Is obviously Levante's back. They signed Anthony Walker Jr. as a reserve guy. They're banking on Servassier Dennis, really staying healthy and being that guy they believe he can be. We saw last week Servassier had an interception in practice. He's been doing that the last few years. We saw yesterday he had another pass breakup. We saw toward the end of practice, Deion Jones had an interception. And he's a guy that might be, a factor as a depth piece at inside linebacker. Todd Bowles loves the depth they have right now at that position. And that was something for it feeling like the biggest question, to hear Todd Bowles that happy with where they are there. That's really good news if you're the Bucs.
Yeah, it's a good point too. And I think the argument that we could just make about the corners covering guys, I guess you can make that same argument about the inside linebacker position, because I don't know if you agree with me, but going forward, it's not been the issue. To me, it's going back when those balls get dropped over their heads. We saw it, especially against Atlanta. My God, how many times it happened? Like, it doesn't matter who was in there, but they were just dropping the ball right over the linebacker, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? Whether it's a lack of communication or just a lack of athletic ability at all. I think if you can get a better pass rush and you can get those inside linebackers more focused on going forward than backwards, Bailey, I think that could help them as well.
I think so. But I think really the biggest key, and this is what I think it can kind of get scary for the Bucs, is Servassier Dennis needs to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And putting it all on one guy who hasn't been able to do so in the last couple of years, putting it all on him is tough. But you saw it early on last year. He, as a coverage linebacker, was miles ahead of where KJ Britt was. And when he was on the field, you kind of see, all right, sooner rather than later, he's going to get more snaps than KJ. He's the more athletic guy. He can rush the passer, he can blitz up the middle, but he can also cover. Then he goes down with a shoulder injury in week 4, and you see what happens against the Falcons in week 5. And, when KJ Britt is asked to play coverage more often. And KJ, I think, was a guy who, as Todd Bowles would call him, very heady. He knew the scheme. He knew what he was doing, but just, I think, was a little more limited athletically. Servassier Dennis is not. So when they've got him in the game and fully healthy, I think that's going to play a huge difference, as well as, like you said, being able to get that pressure on the quarterback and have these linebackers going forward rather than kind of having to sit back there. That'll help too.
What about the other guys from the rookie class? Some of the guys on defense, especially.
Yeah, well, so David Walker was the one who we noticed last week. It was obviously they're not in pads or anything, but just some of the ways he was, as Scott Reynolds put it, teleporting into the backfield. He was just the ball was snapped and he was already there. Obviously, he wasn't facing Luke Gedeke or Tristan Wirfs yet, and there weren't pads on. Unfortunately, yesterday David Walker wasn't practicing, didn't have his helmet with him. He was out there, but obviously nothing I don't think too concerning yet. But that was a little unfortunate to see, just because we wanted to see a little bit more of him. But the corners, it's good to see Benjamin Morrison. He's moving around real well. He's doing the full team drills now, as opposed to just the individuals like he was doing during rookie minicamp. Things have cooled off a little bit, I guess, with Jacob Parrish. I know he had in rookie minicamp, he had 2 picks, but still coming along well, I think. And that depth at corner with those 2 guys added to the mix with Jamel Dean and obviously with Zion, it's looking good for that group.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Jamel Dean because I think people have gotten to the situation where I think Jamel Dean on defense and looking at Rachaad White on offense, you've getting certain people saying, "Oh, we'll just trade him. We have a lot of depth there." And I'm just like, never trade from a position of depth because you never know, man, especially with those 2 guys. Like you just don't know. What do you make of the 2025 season ahead for Jamel Dean on defense and then Rachaad White offensively?
I think maybe bringing in the corners they did in the draft has to help at least push Jamel. And Jamel knows, obviously, he hasn't been able to stay healthy either. And he's just as frustrated as all of you all are, all the fans out there. And the thing with Jamel, though, is that he's never been a bad corner. I know he doesn't get the takeaways like you'd like him to, but he is consistently graded out. And just you look at the tape, he is playing impeccable coverage when he's out there healthy. It's just the problem with him has been him playing 13 games a year and him missing parts of other games and stuff like that. So I think this year, what's so interesting, I know there was all the chatter this offseason about maybe they move on from him and they bring in another starter, the way they did with Carlton Davis last year. Mm-hmm. But it never really worked out in that they didn't have that replacement ready right away. So it didn't make sense to push him out the door and not know who your guy's going to be. As far as this season, I think obviously it all hinges on his health, but you might see him get pushed a little bit. With Benjamin Morrison, the healthier he gets, the more snaps he can get, the more he learns the defense. But it's not a bad problem to have when you've got all of these guys who are seemingly going to be capable starters. And who knows, maybe being able to rotate, some of these guys in and out helps keep Dean fresher and keeps him healthy.
Yeah, I love that. You can never have enough guys. And it was the same thing with the Rays a couple of years ago where people were telling me like, "Oh yeah, we have so much pitching," and all of a sudden 3/5 of the guys got hurt in a week. I was like, "This is why you don't trade away starting pitching." And Zach looked at me. He's like, "Yeah, I think you were right about that one, bud." I'm like, "Yeah, man, you never know." And I look at the running back spot and with, like you said, with Rachaad White, Bucky Irving, like Bucky had 3 different injuries last year. Maybe not, critical, but like banged up. He's not the biggest guy. He runs hard. So, if you lose Rachaad in the offseason next year, then it is what it is. But Rashaad's also proven that he can stay healthy. So we got to be cognizant of that as well. I've asked a couple of people this question. I wanted to get your 2 cents on it. Could Baker Mayfield have done anything better so far in his tenure with Tampa Bay? I just feel like, I mean, obviously other than winning a Super Bowl, but as far as assimilating himself to the Tampa Bay community, getting acclimated to this Buccaneers team, and just really taking the bull by the horns, Baker has just been phenomenal here in Tampa. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. I think somehow the Bucs found a way to strike gold there. It was obviously, it was credit to them for giving him that opportunity and believing in him to come in, and also credit to him to take that opportunity, like you said, by the horns, and he has done everything right. Obviously, you can nitpick and say, well, if you look back at the divisional round 2 years ago against the Lions, he had that late pick, and if they go on and win that game. But as far as you look at it, and I was having this conversation with Matt Matera yesterday at practice, just we got on the topic of different, legacies, Ring of Honor, all that stuff. And I'm thinking like something that I've written about already, but kind of going to write about more is Baker Mayfield's been here for 2 seasons. And I know the Bucs don't have an illustrious quarterback history, but if he has a couple more seasons or even this season and next, similar to what he's done already, statistically, he's going to be up there probably atop the leaderboards of all-time Bucs quarterbacks. And it's just crazy for a guy who was pushed out the door in Cleveland, never really got off the ground in Carolina, and then obviously finished up that season in LA. No one really would have predicted that he'd come in here and do what he's done so far.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. He's already top 10 in passing yards.
Yeah.
So he's got 8,500 now. Let's just at the low end, let's just say 3,000 for the next 2 years, right? You're looking at 14,500, right? He'd be 4th behind Jameis, Vinny, and Brady. And that's 3,000, bro. He could get 4,000, you know what I mean? Close to 5,000. Yeah. If that's the case, you're looking at a guy, even if he just throws for 3,000 this year, he's already going to be probably 7th behind Doug Williams and ahead of Brad Johnson. That's wild. You're so spot on with that, man.
Look at the passing touchdowns too. I'll tell you that. Like he threw, 28, I think, in 2023, and then last year, 41, I think. So he's already up there. I think
he's already 7th.
He's
7th. He's 1 behind Trent Dilfer. He's 4 behind Doug Williams for 5th. And then he's 8 behind Vinny for 4th. Yeah. So let's say like he's got 69. He's going to throw 11, right? So he's going to tie Josh Freeman. So yeah. So if he just has a normal year this year, it's going to be Winston, Brady, and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. It's unbelievable when you look at his story and how he's kind of gotten to this point, and he has completely not even really revived his career. He's just completely changed it. It's not like he's just surviving as a starting. He's like up to the level of being a top 10 quarterback. And I think there's no better example. I don't know. I'm sure you probably remember back when he was first drafted, how much, of a feud he and Colin Cowherd had.
Oh yeah.
And then lately going around, I haven't seen the video yet, but there was a thumbnail on a Cowherd show about, it has Baker Mayfield on it. And it says like top 10 quarterback. And like at this point, like Cowherd's he's completely turned around, and we're talking about Baker Mayfield being potentially a top 10, top 12 quarterback in the league.
It's crazy. I just watched him a couple weeks ago too, and it just, my goodness, he had such a freaking hard on for Baker Mayfield. Like it was like, my God, man! Like you look at all these other things that quarterbacks do, and you're like, oh yeah, you didn't run to the sideline. He goes, did you watch the first 3 touchdowns where I ran right to the sideline? I was running in my student section. And now it's like it's like pulling teeth with Colin. He doesn't want to admit it, but now, I mean, you got to say it. And I asked this question yesterday. I asked you, Frank Ragnow retiring for the Detroit Lions is a big deal to me, because I looked at Detroit going into the season, and I think you're going to hear it a lot more now. But I was very buyer beware when it comes to the Lions in 2025 because of a couple things. One, their road schedule is freaking crazy. I think they got to go to Baltimore, go to Kansas City. They got to go play the Rams. I think they got to go to Philly and Washington. Like their road schedule is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you lost both your coordinators, right? We saw it with Philly a couple years ago when they lost Steichen and when they lost Jonathan Gannon. They had trouble that next season, and people were wondering if Nick Sirianni was going to get fired. It's crazy how that happens, right? You're also getting Aiden Hutchinson coming off of an injury, right? Sometimes it takes a little while. We know that with Chris Godwin. And Jared Goff, even though he's a good quarterback, there's certain times where he's not his best. And if you're having Jared Goff in a shootout against Lamar and Patrick Mahomes and Stafford and Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels all in one year, who's to say that their defense won't take a page out of the Bucs playbook from the regular season last year and be able to even just win half of those games? What do you make of that situation? And also, kind of parlaying into that, I've got the Bucs as the number 2 team in the NFC right now because of all the changes on defense and bringing back their offense. Where do you have the Bucs ranked in the NFC?
Yeah, I think it's tough with the Lions because we just did I think it was last week, we did a roundtable of the Bucs' biggest threat in the NFC, and we don't like to repeat answers. Obviously, the answers, you can pick the Eagles, you can pick the Rams. I ended up, I think maybe with like the third pick because other people had claimed those teams. I picked the Lions, and I was like, listen, I was like, listen, the Lions, they've got too much talent to just kind of say, all right, that's it. Like they've missed their window. On the contrary, it does almost feel a little bit like last year might have been that window. And I think that the retirement of Ragnow obviously is another reason why you can kind of be a little concerned about them. And I think even beyond that, their division was tough last year, and it's going to be tougher this year. Minnesota's not going to go away. I know they don't have Darnold, and we'll see how McCarthy does, but Green Bay, I think, is going to be real good. I think Chicago is going to be a lot much improved. So that's going to be a dogfight in that division. As far as where the Bucs are right now, I think I'd still probably have them right around 3. I think the Eagles probably get the benefit of the doubt as the defending champs. And then I think the Rams, I think something about them, and they're kind of reaching like the end of that window, obviously. But I think they're in a really good spot to potentially be really, really good this year. So I think I'd have the Bucs right there at 3 though. And I think this team, the more I think about the depth they have at these certain positions, and the more I think about, if they can keep the offense looking, even a little bit like it was last year under Liam Cohen with Josh Grizzard, like I think they're in a really good spot to be very good this year and potentially make a deep run.
What do you make of Josh Grizzard so far from what we know? And it's hard to tell because we haven't really seen much, but any hesitancy, any worry about Josh Grizzard taking over for Liam Cohen?
I don't have any right now. I don't think there's really anything we've seen that would make me feel any trepidation about it. I think when they made the hire, I loved it. I think I might have even talked with you about it back then. Yeah. And there's nothing I've seen obviously so far that would make me feel any different. I think the one real interesting thing we were talking about yesterday at practice was you're seeing a little bit more vertical passing. You're seeing some more deep shots, and something that we kind of took away from that is, Baker, I think last year completed something around 71% of his passes, I think it was. Maybe that drops a little bit this year, but you see some more explosives down the field. Obviously, you've got Mike Evans who can win down the field as it is, but you also now add in the fact that you've got a quick guy like Tez Johnson, and you've got different Jalen McMillan. We saw him with some 25+ yard catches last year. Devin Culp, even I think he averaged something around 18 yards per catch when he was in there. You've got some guys that can go with some speed that can win down the field, and I think you might try to see Grizzard, exploit that a little bit more.
What does that spell for a guy like Trey Palmer? I know people have been asking, or we're seeing on the internet, it could be an option for the Steelers. They're looking for more weapons for Mason Rudolph or Uncle Rico or any of the guys that they're getting, Ashawanda, whatever this guy, whenever he's ready to come up. Trey Palmer just seems to be the odd man out, man. What do you see? Do you think he makes the opening 53? It's getting harder and harder to see that, especially with, you mentioned Tez Johnson splashing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see him right now on the opening 53. It's just gonna be tough because that position is suddenly ridiculously deep. Obviously, Mike and Chris at the top, Jalen McMillan. You've got your first rounder in Abuka. You've got Tez Johnson, who I think is going to make his way in there. That's 5 right there. And then you've got a whole group of guys. I'm bound to forget somebody, but you've got Trey Palmer. You've got Sterling Shepard. You've got Cameron Johnson, who they liked a lot last year when he was healthy. You've got Ryan Miller. You've got a whole group of probably 6 or 7 receivers vying for maybe 1 spot, maybe 2 spots. So it's going to be tough for Palmer and any of those receivers, really.
What about Rakim Jarrett? He's still around? That's another guy. I really like Rock, man. That's the thing, man. Yeah. It sucks. But yeah, I'm with you. And it's, they brought Sterling Shepard back. They could have just told him like, hey man, we're good and you can retire, because he was on the couch last year. So I think they like that reliability. I think they like, having him. He was on the practice squad last year, was able to come in. You never know. It's a good guy to have. Before I let you go, Bale, I want to ask you this. Dave Velasquez is a big fan. Does Shiloh fit into the scheme this year? It seems like he's another guy that's really acclimated himself well, and he's looking at a position right there where there is, all right, well, who's going to step up and take this spot? What do you think about Shiloh and his chances?
Yeah, I think as it stands right now, I'd be surprised if he's on the opening 53, but I think he's done everything the right way, and he's acclimated himself really well so far since he's gotten to Tampa. And obviously, there's always going to be a lot of attention on him. It really is going to come down to what he looks like in training camp, especially those joint practices, and then the preseason games. It would probably take a lot to make the roster right out of the preseason, but if he's a guy who wants to stick around on a practice squad and work at it, I think he's somebody who could be in there.
Who are the other safeties then? I mean, we're thinking about it because Tyke's probably going to be that guy, right? You think they give him the chance and, possibly something, Izzian's going to get a chop. But, I feel like there's a lot of guys kind of in that, not the starting tier, that second tier. Like, all right, who's going to step up and take that opportunity? Because if Shiloh outperforms that guy, he could have a shot.
Yeah, he could. It's all the numbers game, really, how they kind of qualify each guy, because right now at safety you're looking at Antoine, obviously you're looking at Tyke. Izzian, do they look at him, is he being kept in that group of corners they're going to keep, or is he safety? Is he kind of just a hybrid? Kayvon Merriweather's a guy they still really like, and I think will be in the mix there. Another undrafted guy they brought in and I guess gave a lot of money to was JJ Roberts from Marshall. So there are certain guys that it'll all depend on how many corners they keep, how many safeties, how many nickels. It is going to be a numbers game. So, I mean, Shiloh's going to be in the mix. It just we'll see kind of how he looks once it's all time to get out there under the lights and everything.
Bailey J. Adams 22 on Twitter/X. You can go check them out over there. Of course, always check out our friends at Pewter Report. They're going to break down the interview with Todd Bowles at 4:00 today. So make sure you subscribe to their YouTube channel and go check them out over there. Bailey, always a pleasure, my friend. Your hair looks fantastic, buddy. You are the best. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Jay. I appreciate you.
You got it, buddy. Bailey J. Adams 22. Go check him out. Twitter/X. Pewter Report doing a great job as always. And yeah, very exciting just to be around the building yesterday. And there was a lot of, I don't know if I got to this yesterday, but there was a lot of former Buccaneers. And from what the Bucs PR told us, they were getting a lot of the old players, a lot of the alumni there because it was a lot more of an intimate setting. We've had or we've seen the alumni day be during training camp every year, and then the players kind of walk around, but there's fans there. And Coach Todd Bowles wanted to do it this year during this day because it's a little bit more of an intimate setting. The fans weren't there; it's just some of the media, and it's during Cut and Color for a Cure Day. So Mark Royals was there, the great Martin Gramatica was there, Tony, one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time. He should be in the Buccaneers Ring of Honor. My guy Ian Beckel says it all the time. I just like to call him Tony Mayberry. He was out there too. And I was like, Ian, why don't you go out here, man? Come on, bro, get out here. And he was like, it's so freaking hot out here, bro. I'm not going outside. And Mark Royals, great punter, he goes, Ian's a sweater. He's a sweater. He's not going out here. Beckles and Recher podcast. I do have a doctor's appointment after the show today. So it's going to be a little bit later, but we'll do the podcast late afternoon, maybe early tonight. But the Beckles and Recher podcast, make sure you tune into that because it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. Like and subscribe on YouTube. If you missed our chat, we're going to post it a little bit later on about Michael Kelly leaving USF for Navy. We're still waiting. We're still waiting for the official word and him going out there. And also Pittsburgh Penguins have hired Don Muse. Is it Don or Dan? As their new head coach. They go on the assistant route as well. The assistant route. The Phoenix Suns hired the Cleveland Cavaliers assistant. That's another one. Adam Silver saying the 2026 NBA All-Star game is going to be U.S. versus the world. We saw that work a little bit for hockey. It did have, some traction. Like people liked it for a little while, but then you just end up going back and just going to the normal East-West. That's what all-star games should be. East versus West. You start to try to reinvent the wheel a little bit. I think it's just you're trying too hard. Nobody wants to try hard. All right. So the Suns hiring Cavaliers assistant Jordan Ott as their head coach. Jordan Ott, Johnny Bryant, they were some of the finalists. I know Johnny Bryant is also a guy that's possible next coach for the New York Knicks. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on that after our chat with Preston here a little bit. But yeah, That's and some crazy baseball last night. The last couple of nights, Mets and Dodgers. Freddie Freeman with the walk-off last night. Yankees with a win over Cleveland. Some really, really good baseball as well. So a lot of baseball here in the Tampa Bay area. Our UT guys going for the win tonight against Northwest Nazarene at 6 o'clock. Of course, go to ncaa.com and you can get all the information. You can watch the games live for there. If they win that game tonight, they play again tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And if they can win that one, then they advance to the finals. It'll be 2 out of 3 against, I think it's Central Missouri or Lenore Rhine, whoever wins out of that other side of the bracket. All right, let's bring them in. We've had pretty much everybody in the family joining us on the show. This means I have to have mom on the show too, right? Eventually.
Dude, one day
we get mom on the show.
I don't know if the people can handle that though.
I heard mom a lot on the broadcast last night. She must have been by a microphone, brother. I'm great sure. Preston Urso joining us on the program, son of Joe Urso, brother of JD, son of Julie, of course, and one of the loudest UT baseball fans that you're going to meet, and also a firefighter here in the Tampa Bay area. So thank you for all that you do, my friend.
Of course. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. All right. So let's get into it. You have been there in Cary, North Carolina for the last couple of days as your dad and your brother and the Spartans are doing their thing. And you've been best friends with Jac Caglianone for a very long time, dating back to your plant days. And you had to get there, right? I mean, you had to be there. And you always told him that you'd be there for the first game. Take us through your friendship with Jac and then what the last 24 hours have been like for you.
Well, yeah, basically Jac came from Berkeley his sophomore year, played at Plant, and somehow I think JD just went up to him at practice or something, like introduced him to the guys, and JD was hanging out with him. So that night we actually ended up going Jac's house, whatever, and so I think I was just one of the first people he really met at Plant, and ended up being one of those kids that I was with like 5 or 6 days of the week through high school, of course, staying at his parents' house more than my own. So yeah, all that. And then, of course, through his Gator days, had to go up there. Super fun baseball to watch, SEC. And, I mean, the guys putting up video game numbers over there everyone saw. So was there a lot hanging out with him. But, yeah, so pretty much just he got called up. I saw on ESPN, like the notification came on my phone before I even heard from him. So they're on their stuff immediately. But I didn't know how I was going to do it. But actually, Russ Bruno, one of my dad's good friends, he refused to let anything go wrong. So he immediately booked me a flight. Dad chopped off some of the Marriott points and went out to St. Louis for the day. Had ourselves a little night. I mean, great experience. Still doesn't even feel real. One of the most surreal things I've ever been a part of, probably. But it's been a cool run. Cary, of course, unfortunate game, took a loss, and then I knew we'd pull through yesterday, though, so I wasn't too worried about missing it. But I'm here, back in Cary, ready to go. So
wow, what a beast! All right, so you find out through ESPN that he gets called up. In your mind, like, did you know that this was possible? Did you, at what point in your head did you go, all right, now I got to get to St. Louis?
So actually, I joked with him before we came because obviously he got called up to AAA about 2.5 weeks ago and still was hitting 320. I think he had 4 home runs in his first 5 games. And I'd ordered on AliExpress, which is like one of those Chinese websites. I ordered a Caglianone jersey, like I customized it because you couldn't get him yet, just to have on his debut. And I joked with him. I was like, dude, if you don't chill out, like I'm going to have to bring the jersey to Cary. And I didn't bring it for whatever reason. So I had my aunt ship me it, made sure I had it. But yeah, insane. AA for 2 weeks and called up to the show. He actually, the stat line's over 5. You know how baseball goes. He actually had a great day.
He was hitting some piss rockets out there, man. It was unbelievable. So when you touch down in St. Louis, take us from there. When you get there in St. Louis, how do you get up with this family? What's the next step between when you got to the airport to the ballpark?
First, it was a nap because we stayed up a little too late the night before and had to be up at 5:45 to make my flight. But yeah, took a nap. Woke up, got me a cheesesteak, and just went and hung out with the family for a little bit. We got to the field pretty early because they had like a whole BP experience for us and all that set up. Went to like go around the clubhouse a little bit. So we actually got to the field like 2.5, 3 hours early. Wow. So we were there most of the day. But Yeah, it was so cool. Obviously, St. Louis is one of the most historic ballparks and just baseball cities in general. So it was really cool to get to go there. And that's actually, I think, the 14th MLB stadium I've been to now. And
Nice.
whenever I go to Kansas City, that'll be 15. So we're about halfway there,
There you
completing the
go,
tour.
buddy. So what was it like when you see your buddy that you grew up with and he gets his name called when he strides to the plate for his first AB? What was that like to be just for you and also to be there with his family?
I mean, like I said, it doesn't really feel real. It's kind of just like, I mean, you're looking at guys like Bobby Witt and Salvi
Mhm.
Perez going up taking ABs, and then Jack walks up on deck. It's like wow, like this is actually happening right now. And of course, I think he might have been 0-2. He was either 0-2 or 1-2. He was behind the count, so I was obviously a little nervous, but he laced it, and I thought for sure it was getting down. I thought I had a chance of getting out, but there's two guys on that team. He said there's two guys they told me to not hit the ball to. One's Victor Scott, and the other's Nolan Arenado. And he went to Arenado twice, and Victor Scott obviously made that play. So unfortunate, but
That's just the way it goes.
it was a solid day. I don't think he looked too uncomfortable. I mean, he looks like he belongs. Everyone knows he belongs. So
Mhm. What
it was a really cool experience.
was he saying after the game? You guys met up after the game, and I saw you guys got a picture on the field, which was awesome, and you got the jersey probably before anybody else. And what was that
Mhm.
like to be able to talk to him after the game? I mean, as a kid, you grow up, you're a baseball player, you want to be a major leaguer. To be able to talk to
Yeah.
him after that game, what was it like for him?
It was really cool. Like, I mean, he was kind of saying like the whole thing was kind of an out of body experience. Like he doesn't even know if he was a part of it. Really, he just went out there and played. He said the ground out to Arenado was second at bat. He said he thinks he floated to first base. So like, I mean, you know how it is. A year and a half ago, he's playing for the Gators. You know what I mean,
Right.
with metal bat in his hand, and now here he is batting behind Salvi Perez. Like I said, like it's crazy. But the people in St. Louis were great. They let us hang out there for a solid 15 minutes after the game on the field, and we all got our pictures. Got to talk to him a little bit. Obviously, he was busy, had to go do some media stuff,
Mhm.
but it was great.
What about Jack has lent him to be so successful, Preston? Because as much as everybody looks at him and they look at, they call him Jack Tani and saw him
Hmm.
pitching and hitting and doing a little bit of everything. What about him as a human being has allowed him to be so successful at such a young age?
Well, for one, obviously the hard work. You know how that goes.
Mhm.
Him and one of my other friends, Zach Kilby, who actually pitches at FAU now. They every single morning in high school, they're up at 5:45 a.m. heading to the gym, do a lift before school, whatever it is, wouldn't miss a day. And then obviously we have our practice, whatever else. But I mean, the main thing I'd say he's a unicorn, dude. I mean, he's 6'5", 250, throwing 98 from the left side as an 18-year-old in high school. Like, then obviously he gets to Florida and everything just kind of clicked together. But I mean, the combination of his build and work ethic, and yeah, other teams are in trouble. I would
Yeah,
not want to see him in the box.
no doubt about it. All right, so now all your focus is at Cary, North Carolina, in North Carolina, with your family there, UT baseball.
Absolutely.
What is it like to be there and to support and to just over the years? I mean, I've seen you at UT games for the last 2 decades, man, when you were just
Uh,
a little guy and figuring out if you wanted to be a baseball player or a soccer player and be a
hmm
fireman. Like your life has changed so much in the time that I've known you. What is it like to be a part of a program that I know stresses the word family? And a lot of people, when they say that, it's kind of BS, but for you guys there at UT, like that really
hmm
is the secret sauce.
I mean, yeah, it's awesome. You get to see it year in and year out, even after, you know what I mean? Like the guys that are here in 2013, 2014, they're at the games. I mean, we get to see them, and you truly are building a family. Like it's super cool. But for me, I get to see everything from the outside perspective. And obviously, one of these next few games is going to be JD's last, whether it's
Yeah.
with a ring on his finger or not. Hopefully it is. But sometime this week, I'm going to watch JD play his last game. And obviously, growing up with him, all the hours in the side of the yard playing wiffle ball, whatever it is. But seeing that come to an end, that was the main reason I came back to Cary so soon. I really don't want to miss his last game, whatever it may be. But yeah, the culture, it's kind of weird for me. almost like an expectation, which is bad, but we're here so much that it's like, all right, we're going to Cary. We did our job. You know what I mean? And now we just got to finish the job. So
anything less is a disappointment, isn't it? Right.
Exact-
I mean, not going to Cary is kind of like a, oh shit.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
how
like-
did that, how the hell that happen?
it's like losing in Cary. It's things happen. You can't win it every year, but yeah, at this point, just making it here. This is like my second home. So I told him I signed up for the resident pass. I got 50% off for being a Cary resident.
Cary's own Preston Urso. I love that, man. I love that. That's such a smart thing. Your whole entire family should do that as
We did.
well. Oh,
For all
smart.
residents.
There you go. I
Exactly.
love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Well, Preston, thank you so much, man. I know you've been busy traveling. Give my love to mom, dad, JD, and the entire crew. Keep on winning. My whole thing, you guys win the next 2 days. I'll be driving up on Friday, brother. So I love you. Give my love to the
Absolutely.
family. We'll talk to you soon. I'll see you soon, buddy.
All right. Good to see you, Jay. Thank you.
Thank you. The one and only Preston Urso. What the whole family, man. We got to get Julie on now. Julie's got to be next. She's got to be the next one on. Can't have 3/4 of the great Urso family and not have Julie on. I really want to do something for like the wives of the coaches. I really wanted to do something like that where like the wives or the moms, like something special. Because I think that's something cool. Really, really good stuff there. Man, still just waiting on Brock Nelson re-signing with the Colorado Avalanche, 3-year deal, 7.5. Wow. Dan Muse, next head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. There you go. There. Anything else? No, not yet. All right. Greer out, Boakfist in for tonight's game. Of course, game 1 of the Stanley Cup final tonight between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. I think this is the year. I think this is the year Connor McDavid does it. I think they win this. I think they win it in 6. And, yeah, we'll go from there. It's going to be fun. And I'm not hating on the Panthers because the Panthers are freaking awesome. Great team. It pains me to say that, but it just is what it is. I feel like Connor McDavid getting that crack at it, his third chance to be able to do that. Yeah, I think this is his time. I really do. There's only so many. I mean, they're playing well defensively. That really helps. And just Connor McDavid being Connor McDavid, you can only hold him down for so much. Such a fantastic player and a joy to watch. And again, tonight, we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. Let's see. Also, we know UT plays at 6:00 today. And our Tampa Bay Rays tonight play at 7:35 as they host the Texas Rangers. Appreciate everybody for tuning in again. Make sure you follow me Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I'm everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. I wanted to get to my thoughts for Tom Thibodeau getting fired as the coach of the New York Knicks. He was let go after the best season in decades for the Knicks, but it was the right move, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm not one of those people that when a team loses in the playoffs, like somebody's got to answer it for it. Like somebody's head's got to roll. But I truly believe that this was as far as Coach Tibbs was going to go with this team. A lot of things had to break right for them to be able to get to the Eastern Conference Final. You know, the Celtics blowing a couple of 20-point leads, Jason Tatum getting injured, late game heroics from Jalen Brunson. And I hear a lot of people saying, like, he deserves to get another crack at this. Nobody deserves anything. Nobody. You earn the right to do things. Nobody deserves anything. I think Thibodeau did a great job. I think he is the guy that was able to rescue this team out of the doldrums and, you know, put them in a position to succeed in the regular season. But there's a reason why his coaching style has worn thin in Chicago, in Minnesota, and now in New York, because he rides these starters so much and so hard. And when you have a guy like Mikal Bridges come out a couple of months ago and say something about it, I mean, this is a guy that he's the Iron Man. He'll play more than anybody. But you have to look at your bench. You have to look at your depth. And the fact that it took for the Knicks to go down 0-2 before he started giving a look to Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright, I mean, that's part of the problem. Remember, earlier in the postseason, they had a big lead in the fourth quarter, and they still had a ton of their starters out there. And the Knicks were very fortunate that they didn't lose anybody to injury. The reason why nobody brought up the issue with Tom Thibodeau playing his starters so much is because in a weird way, the Knicks got very lucky when it came to their health. They didn't have an injury to a guy, you know, to a a Brunson or a Bridges or a Hart or a Towns where they had to come out and miss a game or two. Like this wasn't last year where they missed a whole slew of guys and they were just crippled down the stretch. Just because you think the Knicks should make a move doesn't mean you're not appreciative of the job that Tom Thibodeau did. I am. The Knicks are competitive for the first time in my adult life. And a lot of that has to do with Tom Thibodeau. But he's very stubborn. And there are certain things that he has to change if he wants to be able to be a guy to take that next step. And I had this conversation yesterday about Tom Coughlin and Todd Bowles, right? You have to be open-minded and you have to change and you have to adapt over time. And Tibbs has not been like that. And unfortunately, that was his undoing. Another thing that a lot of people aren't talking about is that why was this team better, especially in that last game when Jalen Brunson was out of the game? One thing that we saw when Julius Randle was the main ball handler, and now when Jalen Brunson is the main ball handler, is that it's one man. It's ISO heavy ball. That's not good. You can't have that regardless of who has the ball in his hands. You have to make sure that you're playing team basketball, you're moving it, and you keep the defense off of you. How many times did Jalen Brunson turn the ball over? Or even a guy like Karl Anthony Towns not getting the call from the refs. When they were at their best, they were moving the basketball. And that's something, whether that's Tom Thibodeau's fault or not, it was the same thing with Julius Randle. When those guys have the ball in their hands, yeah, they have the ability to do some great things, no doubt about it. But it gets old, and it gets easier to defend. You can't solely rely on one guy with the ball in his hands to get you over the hump. As you look at Tyrese Halliburton, you look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as much as those guys are so good with the basketball, they can also distribute as well. Getting these other guys involved. If you're OKC, you're getting Lou Dort involved. You're getting Jalen Williams. You're getting Holmgren and Hartenstein and all these different guys, Caruso involved. Halliburton, moving the basketball, getting Siakam, getting Miles Turner, getting Mathurin, getting these guys on the bench involved, right? Getting Nembhard involved, Shepherd involved. That's what you have to do. So the fact that he was so stubborn to go to his bench, and the fact that they're so still heavy ISO ball, I think those are two of the things you got to look at with Coach Tibbs and think, is it really getting better? Did the Knicks, to me, they would have gotten, and it's kind of ironic, right? Because you see Stephen A. Smith today saying that the Knicks they had 0% chance to play against the Oklahoma City Thunder if they would have won that series against the Pacers. But now today he's pissed off because they're getting rid of Thibodeau. What are you talking about? Why? There's a lot of good players on this roster. You gave up freaking a treasure trove of draft picks for Mikal Bridges. OG Anunoby's a really good player. Karl Anthony Towns you traded for. He's got, all NBA team, all NBA player, just like Jalen Brunson. You have decent players on the bench with Josh Hart, with Precious Achiuwa, with Wright, with Shamet, right? With Mitchell Robinson. There's talent on this team. But you could answer this question. Did the Knicks win because of Tom Thibodeau or despite Tom Thibodeau? I don't know if they won in spite of him, but I don't think they won because of Tom Thibodeau. I think he changed the culture. But there are a lot of times we looked at what a guy like Rick Carlisle did for the team. I don't know if many people said the same thing about Tom Thibodeau. You waited so long to get these guys into your rotation, but then what was the rhyme or reason? You see these good NBA teams, like their best players don't, maybe they don't start the second quarter, they don't start the fourth quarter. There's a percent, certain guys dominate the ball. Like Mikal Bridges is another great example. A guy with abundance of talent, made some incredible defensive plays, but offensively a very quirky game. He's a guy that has to be involved because it's just weird. Mid-range jumper, he can make some threes. He's got a real funny-looking jump shot. But why didn't he get to the point where when Jalen Brunson came out of the game, Mikal Bridges kind of ran the offense? There was no rhyme or reason to what he did. And that ultimately cost him his job. Still, a lot of love and appreciation for Tibbs. I think the next guy needs to be Michael Malone. This is another guy in his 50s. He's a guy that's going to come in. I don't think you need to get a guy that comes in and changes everything that Coach Tom Thibodeau did. I think you still need a little bit of a taskmaster, but a guy that can maybe have some different ideas. This is a guy that's a champion. He's a former assistant with the Knicks. He's from Queens. He knows how to work with a big like Karl Anthony Towns. Working with a guy like Nikola Jokic. Is Cat as good as Joker? No, but there are similarities between the two. And also, they ran him out of town because they didn't want to work hard anymore. The Knicks want to work hard. That's not something you could say about a lot of teams. The Knicks want to work hard. I think that's a perfect fit. I don't want to see Jay Wright. No thanks. Ime Udoka, why would you leave Houston? You're building something nice there. Some of these other guys, assistants, Johnny Bryant, no. Michael Malone is the guy. This was his job to have. There you go. Finally, our Tampa Bay Rays, they look to win again tonight. Again, a 7:35 start, weather impending, against the Texas Rangers. Listen, I look at the Rays, and I look at three guys. The first guy is who started tonight or last night on the mound, and that was Drew Rasmussen. For all the talk about this Rays pitcher does this, they need to call this guy up, this guy has all the potential, blah, blah, blah. The only starting pitcher that has been balling out for the last couple of years, no doubt about it, is Drew Rasmussen. That's it. He should be the guy that's written first on the lineup card. Game 1 of a playoff series, I'm starting Drew Rasmussen. He attacks. He is an attacker of the zone. He throws fastballs with late movement. He makes great hitters look silly. He doesn't walk anybody. His whip is always down. He makes these guys put the ball in play. Drew Rasmussen is fantastic and one of the best pitchers in the American League. No doubt about it. He is a guy that you have to really start giving more credit to. As much as we want to talk about the potentials, the Bosses and the Bradleys and the Pepios, and hey, Shane McClanahan could come back, and we're looking at Joe Boyle in AAA. Let's not gloss over this guy who has been fantastic for the Tampa Bay Rays, and that's Drew Rasmussen. The other thing, the cornerstones. The cornerstones of this team are the guy that's playing first and the guy that's playing third. I have given you my 2 cents on Yandy Diaz. I think he needs to be wholehearted. I think he just needs to be better. But Jonathan Aranda has finally stepped up. You saw it even in the hit in the first inning yesterday. Him being more upright, we had this conversation with Andy Freed before. Him being more upright is a game changer. I love what he's doing, and he's using the middle of the field. He's not pulling off the baseball. And Junior Caminero, again, this guy's just balling out. And another guy using the entire field. People were worried going into the season. Oh, man, we're putting all of this pressure on a guy like Junior. Like, that's what's going to happen. What do you expect? Like, that's the only way that this team is going to be good is if he is a factor in the middle of the lineup. I wasn't worried about it. Did I think that he was going to struggle off the bat? Like, yeah, it's going to happen. He's 21. And also, you're playing in a brand new ballpark. You look at how everybody has made the adjustments. Every single player for the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, it's a true home field advantage. They moved in, 3-4 days before everything started? Like, we thought it was just like, boom, right off the bat. Everything's going to change. Not necessarily. You got to give it some time. And when you finally gave it some time, and now you look at this team, I mean, man, watch out. Watch out for the Rays because they are making just a huge difference now in the AL East. Why not? Keep punching. Keep firing. Again, aggression with a guy like Drew Rasmussen. Build around these cornerstones. Build around Junior Caminero. Build around Jonathan Aranda, and then go from there. If you do that, I think the Rays are going to be very, very successful, not just this year, but for years to come. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. I got to get going. I got things I got to do. We do have Kavika Mitchell joining us at 1 o'clock on Friday, former Super Bowl champion with the New York Football Giants and future Hall of Famer for USF. And also, I got my good to be having a really big guest from overseas tomorrow, so we'll find out soon enough. A big thank you to Preston Urso for joining us, as well as Bailey Adams. Great chats with both of them. Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Good luck to UT at 6 tonight. Good luck to the Rays at 7:35 tonight. We love you all. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the Jay Recher Podcast. I am gone.